Welcome to By the Books, the podcast helping business owners navigate the complex world of business, tax, and bookkeeping. Now, to the owner and president of Kline, Lindsay Kline.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. This is Lindsay Kline with Kline, honest, accurate bookkeeping performed on time, and your host of By the Books. And I'm here once again with Kris Gross of Frito Nation Productions. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
And of course, we have our trusty Nemo and Dory mascots here.
Yes, our fish mascots.
Thanks for holding those.
Yes.
Up. If you get on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see our mascots. So, I told you I haven't really prepped anything for this episode. This is just going to be a little bit of storytelling, probably more.
But what you told me is that you've got a story that needed to be shared, and a story that is going to be able to carry us. So I'm interested what this story is and what we're talking about today.
So I have a new client.
Okay.
And unfortunately for this client, it's now becoming an episode about what other business owners, I don't want to say should not do, but it's an example of why business owners should protect themselves. I'll put it that way. So this new client came to me and explained some problems that she was having with her current accountant. And the current accountant handled not only the bookkeeping, but the payroll and the taxes. So everything was under one roof. And when she told this bookkeeper that she was going to make a change and switch to a different bookkeeper, which was me, and a different tax person, did not go over well. This person became very resentful and angry and is now basically holding all of her information hostage.
Oh my gosh.
So this has been a scramble on our part, the people that are trying to help her now, which, I got her in touch with a payroll company, a tax person, so we're all trying to help her together. And it's been difficult because there are some things like sales tax, for example. We can't just go create a new sales tax account. That account is active and the state's expecting those returns to be filed every month. And if they don't get filed, she would be subject to penalties and audits, etc. Problem is she does not have the ID number, the tax ID number for the state. And we don't have logins. And we can't try to create a new login because the state will say, no, you already have one.
Right. Jeez. Oh my gosh.
And we don't even have the number to tell them which account it is. So this has become a big problem. And the worst of it is the payroll side of things, because no payroll information was given. And so thankfully, and I'm going to have him on as a guest. So I'm going to give a shout out to Jeffrey Gonzalez, because man, he has come to the plate and helped them out considerably. I called him one day because she wasn't even sure if the next payroll was going to get done.
Oh
After this lady got upset, she's like, I don't even know if my employees are going to get paid on Friday.
Yeah.
I said, let me call Jeffrey. And I said, Jeffrey, help. We don't even know, and this is, I think this was a Tuesday. So we're talking 3 days that employees need to be paid. And he said, I'm on it. Just send me whatever you can, whatever you got. We'll see what we have to work with. Thankfully, she had paycheck stubs from the employees.
Okay.
That's basically what we had to work with, which, if you can imagine moving and starting a whole new payroll where you're having to look at individual paycheck stubs to figure out what the employee has been paid all year, what taxes have been deducted all year. This has just been a challenge. And God bless Jeffrey Gonzalez, because he jumped right in. He said, we've got this. We're going to do it. So it has been one of the most difficult onboarding processes that I've experienced. And it was definitely an eye-opening experience for me, because I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Having to take over everything when you have a very non-cooperative party. And I'm sure there's legality issues here. And I've told the client that, and so has her tax preparer, that she has you can't just hold someone's information hostage.
Right.
Here's the problem is, yes, she could probably take this lady to court. She could probably sue this lady. She could probably get the judge to demand that she
hand over the information. Yeah.
But how long does that process take?
Right. Like you've got to pay employees right now.
Right. Employees can't just wait to get paid until you get all this figured out. And you can't wait. The state's not going to wait for their sales tax. They're still going to penalize you. So it's a very difficult situation. So when I walked through this process with her, I thought this would be an interesting podcast episode in thinking of ways that business owners can protect themselves from this kind of situation. So I've been thinking about some suggestions and what she could have done to put herself in a better position today than she is. So first thing I will say is get reports electronically as they happen. So if you have an accountant that files sales tax returns, payroll tax returns, income tax returns, franchise tax returns, does your payroll, whatever it is, have them send you reports and the filings electronically.
Yeah.
Even if you just leave it in your email inbox or just leave it in your Google Drive, whatever it is, however you get the documentation from that person, just have it.
Yeah.
Now, if your accountant is uploading to a drive, to a portal where you have to go retrieve it, that person can disconnect your access to it. So don't think that it's safe just because it's sitting there in the portal, because that's what a lot of accountants do. They'll say, okay, I dropped your files in your portal. You have to log in and go get them. If that person gets upset and decides to be unprofessional, they can disconnect your access to that portal and you won't be able to retrieve your files. So if that's how it works, you need to go in there and actually pull those files down, save them somewhere, preferably on a cloud-based backup system so you always have them.
Yeah.
But get them. Make sure, even if you don't understand what the tax return is, even if you don't understand it, get a copy of it. Because if you ever need to transfer to a new professional, they're going to need those.
Yeah.
As we have seen here.
Yeah. And I think going about it that way, if this client had been doing it this way, there would have been more information that she could have brought than what she has now and made things much easier. And like you said, this is as simple as, if they're uploading it into a drive, I move it to my own personal cloud and, take 20 seconds to do that. And then I'm saving myself from the potential disaster of something like this.
Right. And with the paycheck stubs, thankfully she had them, but they were all physical. I literally scanned them all in, all these for almost a whole year of check stubs. We scanned them in so we could send them to Jeffrey. So he got 1,000 emails from me that day. So yes, get it electronically and get as much documentation as you can as it's happening. Don't wait until you need it. Don't wait until the relationship is deteriorating. Get it in live time. So that's my first bit of advice is make sure you have all the documentation saved somewhere. And if all you can get is physical, that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But it would be much preferred that it's in a digital format and backed up somewhere. Second piece of advice is have your logins. As a business owner, you own those logins. If you have a sales tax account with the state and it's connected to your business name, have the login. Even if you never log into it, make sure you have that login. And, asterisk, make sure it's connected to an email address that you have access to.
Yeah.
This is important because they can change the login information at any point in time if it's linked to their email address.
Right.
So it is important to insist, especially on something like that, where you cannot create another one. We cannot go create a new one because every time I've tried, it says, sorry, you already have an account set up because it's tied to the tax ID number. So it's not like you can just go create a new email address and
make it work.
It doesn't work like that. It's tied to the tax ID number. So for something that that important, I would make sure it's tied to an email address that you have and that you have the login information for it.
So is there any information that this person, a bookkeeper, a tax preparer, a payroll person, is there any information, especially login wise, that person should have that I should not have?
What do you mean?
Like in this case, I should have had my login there. Right. And then in that case, if they want to keep my information, at least I'm taking my login with me. What are the things that I can reasonably expect this professional, this person that I've hired, to have access to that I don't have access to? Is there any important documents that, like in this case, if I'm holding on to most everything, if every copy I get, every login that I have, is there anything that I hesitate in calling this person a professional after the way that they've acted, but reasonably, is there any kind of information, any logins that this professional should have that I don't have access to?
The only thing I could think of is maybe if it was something software related, maybe they have a workflow software where they keep checklists on what they do for the client, something like that. But as it relates to client information, such as tax filings, payroll, the client, in my opinion, should have access to everything.
Yeah.
You should be receiving tax filings. You should be receiving copies of those. You should have access to be able to log in if it's some kind of online portal. In those areas, in my opinion, clients should have everything.
Yeah.
So in fact, that is one reason why in my company, we have a shared drive, a folder that has everything we save, download, create for a client, and the client has access, the tax preparer has access, and we have access. So at any point in time, client can get that. And everything is theirs. It belongs to them. It's their company. But obviously not all professionals work that way.
Yeah.
Quote unquote professionals.
Right.
So yes, protect yourself by making sure you have all your tax ID numbers, your EIN numbers, your sales tax numbers, your franchise tax numbers. And every state is different. Every city is different. You may have county things or city things. Make sure if there is anything that you have to file to the government, that you have the ability to do it if something were to happen to that person, if they were to get angry and be disgruntled, that you have every bit of information that you need to be able to carry on business without being penalized or having negative ramifications for not having it.
Yeah.
The first piece of advice I should have given that it just now dawned on me, I forgot to say, is get everything in writing up front. Everything should be in a contract. Have in a contract that you own all your information, that you own everything that they create, everything they save, everything they do on behalf of your company. You are the owner of it and you are entitled to it. Have that in writing. Have them sign it. I mean, there's nothing, I don't think legally she has a leg to stand on anyway. But make it completely clear and have them sign off on it, that it belongs to you and that upon request, they have to provide you with all your documentation, all your logins, all your reports, everything that they have.
Yeah. And if you go about it that way, you would know pretty early on if this is something that this professional that you want to do work with, if that's not something they're interested in doing, then that's an immediate red flag to start with.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I have seen often business owners get into these relationships, when I'm taking over from another bookkeeper and there's nothing in writing in regards to that relationship. It's so dangerous. Make sure that expectations are set at the very beginning and are very clearly stated and in writing, signed by both parties. That's so important. You've got to protect yourself. Otherwise, you're opening yourself up into these situations that I've seen. And this is not the first one. This is probably the worst one I've seen.
Wow, yeah.
But this is not the first one I've seen where it's gotten sticky. You know, you want to do it early on when the relationship is probably at its best place.
Yes.
That's when the professional is going to be most incentivized to get something down in writing because they want to get your business. You know, after the relationship has started, especially if it's starting to get a little ugly, they're not going to be real incentivized to put things in writing for you. So do it at the very beginning. If there's anything I could advise, it would be that.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about what do you do when you're in this situation and you can't get the information you need, which is where she is.
Right.
I mean, thankfully we've got some people that have jumped in to help, including myself. But what I've advised her to do in regards to like the sales tax situation, call the state, explain the situation. Here's where I am. All I can give you is the name of my company. I don't know my tax ID number. I don't know what email address it's attached to. I can't get my bookkeeper to talk to me. That's what I've advised her to do. And let the state tell her, here's what we need to do. Now, if anyone's ever dealt with a governmental entity, that's never a fun process. You're usually on hold forever.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
Yes, easier said than done. You're on hold forever usually, and the person on the other end of the line may or may not be helpful, it may be somebody obnoxious that doesn't really want to deal with you. You get that sometimes. So it's not the most fun process, but what I recommend is if you have a conversation with a governmental entity like that you either record the phone conversation, definitely take good notes, ask them their name. I spoke to Martha on this day, this time. This is what she instructed me to do. Because if it turns out that she is not able to obtain her information, she's not able to file the tax return because we couldn't make it happen in time. I mean, basically from today, we have 15 days before it's due. And right now we have no information to do it. So if it comes down to the due date and she's not able to gather what she needs to get us what we need to file the return, at least she's got some documentation then to say, okay, I spoke with Martha and she said I just needed to write an appeal to ask for mercy on the penalties. She's got that documentation to show that she was proactive in contacting the state, letting them know the situation. So that's what I would advise is, just document those phone calls. If you can't make it happen in time, ask for mercy whenever you finally are able to do what you need to do. Just ask for mercy and show that you were trying to be proactive.
Yeah. And
hopefully they'll remove any penalties associated with that.
Right. You would think in this case there would be that little bit of leniency that's allowed because you've made it clear, I want to do it. Right. I just cannot.
Right.
I cannot do
right.
it. I think there's also something to be said here in this, as part of this story, is losing business with grace.
Yes.
And losing business with dignity.
Yes.
It's not that every person who stops doing business with you, that it's a personal decision. And the one thing that just blows me away about this is, I mean, you have got to expect that when you do something like this, where I'm going to hold hostage all of your information, I'm not going to let you have any of it. I mean, you've got to know that word is getting out and people are hearing about the way that you act.
Right.
And they always say, and the studies say, that the bad word travels much quicker than the good one does. People are much more likely when they leave a restaurant, if they had a bad meal, if they didn't like their experience, they're much more likely to talk about it if it was bad than if they enjoyed their time there.
Our episode about, what do we call it? The Raving Fans episode is a perfect example of that.
Exactly. Like, it's so much easier to go off and, be filled with all of this energy when it's bad than if it's good, you know? Now, maybe if it's amazing, you're like, I've got to go tell everybody.
Like the Hutchins Texas Twinkies.
Yes. Oh, man.
Which I noticed you cut this out of the episode, so I'm going to have to mention it. The Hutchins Texas Twinkies? Or no, maybe it was. Was it in the episode?
What is that? Okay, so I've been to Hutchins. What are the Texas Twinkies?
The stuffed jalapenos.
Oh,
was that
okay.
in the episode? Or did you cut that?
I cannot remember.
I can't remember either now.
I cannot remember.
So if it did get cut out of the episode, though, we're going to have it in here. Hutchins Barbecue. Best barbecue in the world, in my opinion.
Yes.
They have these stuffed jalapenos. And this is an example of where you say if you're really passionate on the good side.
Right.
I am passionate about Hutchins. I have as many lunch meetings there as possible. But these Texas Twinkies is what they call them. It's stuffed jalapenos.
Okay.
And I don't even know where they find these jalapenos because they're massive. And they stuff them with cream cheese and brisket. And their brisket, I'm sure you know, their brisket is amazing.
Yeah.
And then they wrap the entire thing in bacon and slather it with barbecue sauce.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
I am getting so hungry.
I feel like we need to go to Hutchins.
What I will say about Hutchins is, and that episode we recorded was way long, and so there were some things that had to hit the cutting room floor. And so
because there were things we were very passionate about on the good and the bad side.
Yes. And so if that didn't make it, I think this has to be one of the biggest, most positive things you can say about a restaurant is they would cater when I was working at the radio station. And so I was eating Hutchins probably an hour and a half, 2 hours after it was made. And at least an hour after it had been delivered, and it was still amazing.
Oh, yes.
You know, most time you get to food at that point and you're like, it's gotten dry, and you're like, no, pass. Like I'm taking the 3-hour-old Hutchins barbecue over a lot of things. So that's what I'm gonna add in there.
I remember you saying that you would plan some of your shifts around when Hutchins was gonna be there.
Oh yeah. And that was, again, I will say, that was the only thing I made special trips or sets time aside to get. We had lots of things that were catered in, and there were a lot of, not worth it, not worth my time. Or sometimes I would get off and I knew the food was coming 30 minutes later. A lot of times I'm like, it's not worth my 30 minutes. For Hutchins, oh yeah. Like I probably would have waited 2 hours for it to show up.
So if there's anyone that's not in the Dallas area and you ever come visit, you have to make a stop at Hutchins Barbecue. It's
fantastic.
Worth the trip.
Yes.
Worth the trip. So now this episode has turned into us ranting about Hutchins Barbecue. I don't even know how we got started on this.
But I think this is a good point, is we're spending all this time talking about it, and it's a good thing. And you have to realize, now shifting the conversation to another way, if you're a business owner, when it comes to losing a client, losing business, there is a right way to go about it. And if you went about it the way this person did in the story you're talking about, Lindsay, there's going to be people talking about it like we just were.
Yeah.
And it is a immediate, never going to that person.
So do you know, you want to hear something ironic?
Okay.
I'm not going to give the whole business name of this other bookkeeping company, but there's a keyword in this name that's ironic given the situation.
Okay.
Professional.
Yeah. Because see, and here's what's funny about that is the first word that I think of around this person, I would say criminal is probably the first word, but then second, it's unprofessional.
Yes.
And unprofessional is the word I thought of first, but I think we need to escalate it to criminal, because it seems like there's some illegal activity going on here. But I think there's something to be said for realizing that there's sometimes a difference in personality.
Yes. There's
a difference in the way that I expect things to be done, the way that you want things to be done, and it's just not going to work out, Or it may come to the point where, hey, look, with the money that I'm making now, I just can't afford it. And there's got to be that understanding of, hey, I've got to come to the realization that when I bring in this business, I'm not going to assume that they're going to be here forever. And when that person leaves, we do it with grace. When I first started looking when we first started looking for our house, we got paired with a realtor who just did not fit with us at all.
I remember you telling that story.
And it was, I really felt bad about it because she was a really nice lady, but what we ultimately came to the conclusion of is that we need our hands held. We need someone who can help us as first-time home buyers. For people who have bought 2-3 houses, oh man, this lady would have been amazing. But we made the switch and she was okay with it. And she even said, I'm going to try and help you find somebody that's going to fit you better. And so I think that there's something
awesome
to be said for when someone decides to move on, they're taking their business somewhere else. That right there is a key moment for you to show who you are as a person and the values that you want to represent in your business.
This actually is happening to me as we speak. And because of this situation that I talked about, it has spurred me on to be especially professional and over-the-top helpful in the transition process to another bookkeeper. I actually had a client, his billing is based on number of transactions, and his business has grown, which is great.
Yeah.
But as a result, the bookkeeping now costs more because there's a lot more transactions.
Sure.
It's about 100% of what it was when we first took over, which is a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't like the bill. And I understand that. So when he said he was going to look for another bookkeeping service, I thinking about this example that I've just been dealing with in the last couple of weeks, it really motivated me to make sure I was over the top professional and helpful. I told him, I said, we record a lot of videos internally as staff members. So I always make sure when we do a training on Zoom about a client's books that we record it so that we can always refer back to it. If we forgot something or wanted to reference, how did you do that again?
Yeah.
So I have a whole bank of training videos for every client. And so I told him, I said, if you'd like to, I can share those with you, and you can pass them along to whoever you have doing your bookkeeping so they can understand how we were doing it and why we did it that way. Just trying to think of any way that I could be over the top helpful in that transition process. So that is, I agree with you, very, very, very important.
Yeah. And I think, one, it's important to do it just because it's the right thing to do and it's the professional thing to do. But look, you never know. This person may get to their new person and they say, man, this person doesn't do half the things that Lindsay did for me. And then they come back to, okay, well, was my bill so high because I was paying for the professionalism there? Would you rather pay more and get it done right, or hey, I'm paying half as much but a quarter of the work is being done?
There is no question I am never going to be the cheapest. And I tell people that when people say my pricing, I am not the cheapest. I'm going to tell you that right now. I said, this is what I'll tell people is you can go hire a bookkeeper for $15, $20, $25 an hour to do what you're asking me to do. I hire those people, but I have 2 levels of review, at least 2 levels of review above those people. I have my senior staff accountant that reviews everything first, and then when she's happy with it, she sends it to me, and I'm the final review. Never, ever, not one single month of financials have both of us looked at what that $15, $20, $25 an hour person was doing and said, oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's send it along.
Yeah.
In fact, never have I looked at it after my senior person has looked at it. Now she's learning. She's learning what I nitpick because I am nitpicky and I'm OCD. But she's learning with time what she needs to make sure is good before she has me look at it. But even as much as we've worked together on it, I still change things even after she has reviewed it and she's put her stamp of approval on it. So yes, we're not the cheapest. But the idea is that we're giving accurate, honest, timely services every time.
And you know what? If people are being honest, we all do this in our real lives, where every day we weigh the value of basically you get what you pay for in a lot of things. And I may be one of the people who takes it to an extreme, but I don't think I'm that much different than everybody. You know, if you're watching here on YouTube, you can get a cheaper case. I've got the Apple branded case.
See, now I spend money on a case.
And me too, because my wife has shattered the glass on her 3 times in the last year.
Oh my gosh, I dropped my phone so much.
But your case protects you, doesn't it?
Yes, because I will spend a fortune on a good case.
Yeah. And here's the one where it's big for me. This is the one where it's big. And I know I'm different than a lot of people here, but I like buying a brand new car. And I do that because I know exactly what I'm getting. I know who's driven it. I know the wear and tear that's been on it. And I'm exactly like what you just said, Lindsay, is, hey, I know what I'm paying for. I could get a car for 60% of the price, but if I'm buying 2 of those in the time of buying a new car, I can do the math real easily and I figure it out. And so I think some people...
Now you're talking to an accountant here.
Yes.
So all that's going through my head is depreciating asset. But I get what you're saying.
Well,
but I do buy used cars.
Yes. And people are different that way. But I think you would admit too, there's aspect in everybody's life where we go, there is something where I do not look for the cheapest or even, middle of the road. Everybody has something where they say
cereal.
Okay.
Do you like off-brand generic cereal?
You know what? We're not big cereal people.
You don't like cereal?
No.
Chris?
See, I'm not really a breakfast person.
I'm not either. You eat it for dessert late at night. This is why I have a weight problem.
Okay, you know what I will tell you? We bought all of this for my daughter, and it has been one of my snacks. And I think I'm going to the grocery store either today or tomorrow, and I'm going to get some.
What?
You just get like regular, like vanilla Greek yogurt, and it's chocolate mini wheats. And you put the chocolate mini wheats. No, you put the mini wheats in the yogurt.
Okay, mini wheats, first of all, when I say cereal,
no,
I'm
but
not
it's
talking about mini wheats.
No, but it's chocolate mini wheats.
No.
And it's Paw Patrol.
Okay.
Your kids might like them.
I need to school you on some good cereal.
Okay, so
what do? You mix these together?
Yeah, you put it in the cereal. Yeah. Or you put it in the yogurt. You're talking
Chris,
are you talking like Fruit Loops?
Yes.
Okay.
Fruit Loops, good example. Full of junk, but delicious. Now, I haven't eaten any lately because I've been on keto and I've been good. Been good with the cereal, but...
No cheat days in keto?
Well, you know what my cheat is? Movie popcorn. Popcorn. Now, there's a good example, too. Microwave popcorn just does not do it.
It does not.
I will go to a movie just for the popcorn. I don't even care what the movie is. I just want the popcorn.
Yeah. And you know what? You can have just eaten dinner like 30 minutes before and you get to the movie theater.
Yes.
No, I don't need anything. And you smell the popcorn and you go, I'm going to the concession stand.
So, yes, I do have my cheat days, but it's usually around movie popcorn.
That's awesome.
And I am a butter person. It has to be layered and extra butter. So, yeah, that's my cheat.
Okay.
So that would be an example of where you get what you pay for. Yes, I will pay $12 for a bucket of popcorn that probably cost them 2 cents.
But I think, all that to say, it makes the point that there's a lot of things, and there are things where, hey, it's not worth it for me to pay for, Some people may say, hey, I like my lawn to look really nice, and when I do it, it's ugly, so I pay somebody to do my lawn. Hey, when I wash my car, it looks ugly, so I go to the $10 wash car place. So there are those places, you get what you pay for. But
do you notice how all your examples are like cars and houses, and mine are always food? I'm seeing a trend here.
Well, I can tell you, if we want to stick on the food thing, I've tried the Kroger brand chips, and they don't do it for me.
Okay.
So
store brand chips.
I am the big brand chip guy.
I'm not much of a chip guy.
Yeah.
Or chip person, I mean.
I love chips. I love
So
chips.
that's so funny because I'm not much of a chip person, but I love cereal. So you and I are very opposite when it comes to the food.
I am the person where if I get but I'm very close to boycotting chips. Like this might be my next rant because the bag is so much air.
You're right.
When you open it,
it is.
If you get over 50% chips in the bag, you got a good one. You got a good bag. Everything else is so low. And so the reason I have to stop buying chips is one, because I just eat them like nothing. I eat them like popcorn. and two, I will open the bag. I will get to like one sitting, and it's about from, not as what it started at, but the entire bag, I'm at like 10%, and it makes me feel terrible. Like I felt like I just ate an entire bag of chips in one sitting.
One of my bookkeeping clients used to work for Frito-Lay.
Okay.
And he was talking about how many precautions they have to take because the chips are so flammable. And he was saying,
what?
Yes. And the worst he said was the corn chips. What are they? Fritos?
Fritos, yeah.
So he literally pulled a Frito out of the bag and lit a match and lit it up, and it burned like a candle.
No way.
Yes, do it. Try it. It's fascinating. But yes, very flammable, those chips.
Yeah. Okay. So make sure you come back next week. We're burning Fritos live.
We should do
live
that.
on the show. Live on the show.
That would be greatness.
Okay, so somehow
we have like completely got way off topic.
You brought up chips, and that's one of my hot topics right now. So this one's your fault. This is your fault. I'm just gonna say that.
I have no idea what we were talking about, but if someone wants to do a podcast about irrelevant topics such as chips, how can they find you?
Exactly. I was gonna say, if you want to do your own, that's great. Contact me. Currently looking for a co-host on a chips podcast where we go against big chips. We're going against the big brands, and we're doing a podcast every day until this gets fixed. Seriously, if you're interested, let me know. You can reach me, FritoNation.live, or email me, Kris, KRIS, at FritoNation.live. What about you, Lindsay?
Wait, I just had an epiphany.
Okay.
Is it possible, and I don't know, but is it possible they do it on purpose to protect the chips?
That's what I've heard. But
is that the story? You're not buying it?
Mm-mm. I believe it's a lie. They realized why would we fill up an entire bag of chips when we could take what could fit in one bag and put it in two bags? That's what I believe. This is my big conspiracy theory. Right. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist.
Write letters to your congressman immediately. This is
chips is going down. It's going down.
All right. If you need bookkeeping services, not chip services, but bookkeeping services, we're happy to help at Sakline, SAKLINE.com. You can email us at info@sakline.com. We're here for you. We will not be unprofessional if you ever decided to leave. I will give you that promise. SAKLINE.com. Honest, accurate bookkeeping performed on time. I'm Lindsay Kline, your host of By the Books. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great week.
By the Books is presented by Kline. Honest, accurate bookkeeping performed on time. For more information on Kline services or to get a hold of Lindsay, visit Sakline.com or email info@sakline.com.
The information provided on this website and podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, and materials available are for general information purposes only. Information provided by Kline may not constitute the most up-to-date legal or other information. Listeners should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular legal matter and should refrain from acting on the basis of this information without first seeking legal advice from counsel in the relevant jurisdiction. Only your individual attorney can provide assurances that the information contained herein and your interpretation of it is applicable or appropriate to your particular situation.